All right. Welcome, everybody, to the third of our speaker series this spring. I'm really excited to have Pat Daniels with us from Constructing Hope in Portland, Oregon. Just to give a little bit of a orientation to how to interact with this. For those of you who are tuning in on Zoom, we can field your questions either in the chat or in the Q&A box. Either one works. We'll be answering questions as they at certain points throughout the talk. So after a certain point in the presentation, we'll check in on questions and ask any that have come up. And then again, later on after another section of the presentation. So if you have questions at any point, just type them in as they come into your mind and we'll follow up with them later. We are going to have another one next week as well. I'll say some more about that one at the end. But for now, I will introduce our speaker, Pat Daniels. So Pat, as I mentioned, is in Portland, Oregon, which is on the indigenous lands of the Clackamas, Cowlitz, Multnomah, Kalapuya, Klamath, and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, as well as other Native communities. Pat Daniels is the executive director of Constructing Hope, a pre-apprenticeship training program. And they're based in Portland, Oregon, as I said. And the organization's mission is to rebuild the lives of people in their community by encouraging self-sufficiency through skills training and education in the construction industry. Constructing Hope provides no-cost 10-week construction training programs, placement services, and career advancement support. They serve people of color, people coming from incarceration, and low-income adults. Pat will share more about the organization and how they've impacted the lives of more than 1,300 graduates and their families. So Pat, I will go ahead and let me see. Drew, would you mind stopping sharing your screen so I can share mine? Thank you. All right, let me get the PowerPoint lined up here. All right, Pat, just let me know when you're ready for me to switch slides.
Okay, I'm ready. Well, I think the first slide is just the introduction that you just heard, that I am the executive director of Constructing Hope. We're rebuilding lives, diversifying the construction industry and workforce. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so I'd like to share history of Constructing Hope. A lot of times when I meet people, they think that I'm this wonderful person and I did not invent this program. So I always have to pay homage to Irvington Covenant Community Development Corporation. ICCDC is a mouthful, but Pastor Henry Greenwich had a great vision. In Portland, the church located itself in an area where they saw lots of men, African-American men, out selling drugs. When they came and talked to the men, they found out that these men were formerly incarcerated and they had felony backgrounds. With the felony background at that particular time in Oregon in 1995, you had to check the box. And checking the box, actually, it did not give you the opportunity to even look at your application. We removed you from the pile. So the reason why all these men were out selling drugs is they didn't have an opportunity. When we wanted to solve the problem, we looked around and we found that construction is the one area that actually paid a great living wage that people could raise a family and men could come back to be head of their households, as well as create generational wealth. So the construction industry was very open to working with us, and they started a Ready to Work program. I came along in 2005 and the Ready to Work program was closing. They asked me to help them with the fundraiser. And when I saw what they were doing, to me, the number one thing is in the state of Oregon, we have registered pre-apprenticeship through the Bureau of Labor and Industry. So that was the first thing that I felt like we needed to do, was become a certified program to put some teeth into what they were doing. Well, moving forward in 2007, that got approved by the Bureau of Labor and Industry, and we became a certified pre-apprenticeship training program as Irvington Covenant Community Development Corporation. But that didn't say anything about construction. So moving forward, the program was still kind of floundering, and the pastor moved on to another position. we decided the new pastor came in and this was not his passion. At this point, I had come from customer service in airport, and I had just fallen in love with this work because I saw for the first time the plight of formerly incarcerated, and I had no idea that they were buried by so many things that they had to overcome. So fast forward, we moved to the pastor moved on, the new pastor came in. This was not his mission. I asked him if I could have the program. He gave it to me in 2009. So in 2009, we moved from Irvington Covenant, ICCDC, to Church Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is where we are today. And in 2010, we became Constructing Hope, pre-apprenticeship training program, as an independent nonprofit organization. Now, this took a lot of work for us to partner with other organizations which are like us. And so you're going to see that Constructing Hope targets predominantly men and minority men, and our program is 100% low income. So at that particular time, we partnered with Oregon Trade Women so that we can get established in the industry. We found out that it was easier for the two programs to go after funding together than it was for us to go after funding separately. So a lot of the work that you will hear about Constructing Hope, you'll also hear OTI for Oregon Tradeswomen. In 2021, though, this is where we are today, and I am really happy that we were just awarded a grant from Portland, City of Portland. We were selected for the Portland PCEF, Portland Clean Energy Fund. We're one of the candidates to receive funding, and we are planning a green training program in addition to our current pre-apprenticeship training program. And I'll tell you more about that a little bit later in the slides. Next slide. So the mission we talked about, this is just a look at our last crew. I think this was our winter class of 2020. No, this is 2020. But the mission of Constructing Hope, our mission means that we're in the business of rebuilding the lives of people in our community, and we're doing that to get them to a point of self-sufficiency through education and training in the construction field. But you can see, next slide, the diversity of our participants. So our participants, we provide construction careers to 80 adults per year. Our classes are 25 per class. But of course, you know, the attrition rate, when we're looking at formerly incarcerated, this is a hard thing to do for 10 weeks with no pay. But we place at least 65 in new careers, and we provide career retention and advancement services for 60 to 70 people. Our classes are 25 per class, and we also serve 25 high school students in our summer youth program, which is usually from July to August. Our summer youth program, we're targeting youth that are 15 to 19, and we're doing this because of our relationship with the industry. As the students are in high school, they can actually apply direct to the unions and non-union employment, but it's about getting the word out. You know, at some point in our history, we decided that construction was kind of a bad word. It wasn't the job that people needed to go into. It was kind of, you know, considered a low skill for people who weren't smart enough to go to college. And what we found out during the pandemic, that construction is an essential worker. Construction workers are essential workers. So this way we can have youth that come through our summer youth program. They have the opportunity to apply directly with Northwest College of Construction, which is our non-union partner, or they can come into Constructing Hope 10-week program and have the opportunity to apply directly to a union. As we have built out our relationships for placement, we have MOUs with Northwest College of Construction, as well as probably 7 to 8 union trades where our students go, and you'll see the placements a little bit later. But the participants that we serve are 80% unemployed. Everyone that comes through this program is 100% low income. And we find this out by working with the employment department. It's very hard for a nonprofit to gauge income. But everyone that's part of signing up for our program, they're signing up through the employment office, where they take a career readiness test. After that career readiness test, then that's when you get to come to our orientation, or it's part of our orientation to go through this process to actually come into the class. The career readiness test tells us where you are with reading, writing, finding, finding information, math. It gives us an idea. So we can figure out where to start our math classes and how to move people forward, because you think about, as a pre-apprenticeship training program, we're not part of the school system. So we have to have a way to judge, where do we meet people to move them to the next level to be successful in the trades, and especially when it comes to math. So 100% low income, 70% to 80% are people of color, and 70%, 60 to 70% are usually, right now we have criminal justice system, but we're changing that language to newly returning citizens. Because when we say criminals, I think it's a harsh word. And when you think about your family members that may have made a mistake, do you consider them criminals? And you should not be a criminal for the rest of your life. We're in a society about second chances, and that's what Constructing Hope is about. Next slide. So what happens in our training? This is a 10-week training program. And in this 10-week training, we offer classes 4 times a year. So we're on a semesters, as well as green training right now is 2 days of our curriculum is focused just on green training, because we know that this is the wave of the future. And when we look at the population that we're serving, it's our goal to give them every opportunity to compete with what we call FBIs. So traditionally, we said people who were coming into the trades were fathers, brothers, and in-laws, and we're not that. So what we would like to do is create fathers, brothers, and in-laws. And I have to tell you that we're off to a great start in making that happen. The thing that makes our program so successful is our support services. When our students come into the class and in the orientation, we're asking them for a 3-year commitment. We ask for this 3-year commitment because if you don't have a father, brother, or in-law talking to you about the culture of the trades, the statistics show that 50% of all apprentices drop out. 80% of minority participants, apprentices, drop out. Constructing Hope has a 47% retention rate for our minority participants, and it is because of our support services. So I'd like to take a minute and just talk about that, and I'm going to do it in the next slide. But a major part of that is the last note here is about mentoring. So we'll talk a little bit more about mentoring, and we'll go to the next slide. Support services for us is, because everybody is 100% low income and formerly incarcerated is a large percentage of the people that we have. The average person going to prison these days is getting anywhere from 7, I would say 5 to 8 years. And I'm seeing a lot of 8 years for my people of color. So when they come out, they don't have a driver's license. They don't have the money to reinstate their driver's license. So those are 2 of the major things that we do as far as support services, and making sure that by the time they complete the program in the 10 weeks, we're trying to make sure that they have driver's license to meet the requirements of the trades, because most trades are not working locally. Sometimes they're working throughout the city, sometimes they're working in the suburb areas, and sometimes your work can be outside of the state of Oregon. So transportation is a really important piece for these guys to be successful. The other support services that we offer is expungement. As I've been doing this for the last 15 years, I can't tell you the number of people who have been totally embarrassed by being walked off of a job because they had a felony 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So those felonies are on their records for 10 years. And there's a lot of companies that has part of their contractual agreement that no felons on this job site. So that means that even though we have a shortage of workers, these people are still being walked off the job. So we offer expungement. The other thing that I'm really proud that we offer is childcare. You know, the average person, and when we're looking at low income, I'm going to say we always think of childcare as necessary for women, because I think one fact that I didn't share with you, or I may have, is that Constructing Hope participants are 90% male. So childcare for formerly incarcerated men, I can tell you, we have had babies in our first class which is safety. And they have gotten their safety certifications because these men were very dedicated in getting to class and making sure that they got their certifications in order to graduate our program. So childcare is something that we work very hard to make sure that both men and women have childcare while they're in the training. And this childcare also follows them to employment. And it takes care of the break of when they complete the program, as long as they're signed up with a union or a non-union apprenticeship, their childcare will continue because we know that they're just waiting to get out to work. We also provide gas cards. Gas cards is something, again, that period of not having any income, the 10 weeks that they're going to school with us is not paid training. This is on your own. So the secret that we're going to share with you, that what we've done is we've created a relationship with several temporary agencies, and those agencies will employ our guys while they're going through the class. The one thing I didn't share about our classes, let me step back a bit. Our classes are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they're from 6:30 in the morning until 4 p.m. We're doing this because everything about our program is preparing you to get to work on time. And if we start a class at 8 o'clock and you don't have a car, that may be easy for you to do. But because class starts at 6:30, that's the same time you have to be at work. So our 3 tiers of graduates begin with attendance. Our level 1 cannot have more than 1 tardy or 1 absent day. We realize that life happens, but if you make this commitment, it's 3 days a week, we'd like to see you there those 3 days a week. So that's a level 1 graduate. They have perfect attendance, they have all of their certifications, and our certifications are inclusive of OSHA 10, first aid CPR, confined space, fall protection. They get a flagging certification, as well as they get an introduction to forklift and scissor lift, because you have to be certified by your employer. And they also have a 40-hour HAZ whopper, just to deal with hazardous waste. And this is, again, so that as they begin as apprentices, they have the certifications that a company would want to keep them, because the number one thing is they're willing to learn. And that's the person that most union and non-unions, or let me just say, that is the person that most trades are looking for, as well as a driver's license. So I'm going to stop there and say level 2, the only difference is a level 2 person, it may take a little longer to get somebody's driver's license, and I can't send you to the trades until you're really ready. So this is the reason that we pay for it and make sure that folks are ready when they go. The other reason that a person could be a level 2, life happens. You might have missed 2 days during this training. You might have missed 3 days during this training. We write a letter to the trades explaining why you are that level 2. And a level 3 hasn't happened in several years, but a level 3 for us was someone who failed the final exam. So just because we're a free program, and this is a 10-week training program, we're very serious. There's weekly quizzes, there is a midterm, and there is a final. And if you fail the final, you cannot get a certificate of completion. So that would be your level 3. Now, this person still deserves a chance. Now, we will still help you, but I cannot give you that direct referral to the union. You would need to apply on your own. If they call us, we're going to say this, you failed the exam, but they do have the opportunity to come back and retest. We have several final exams. So when they complete the program, we have tools. We make sure that they have tools, boots, support services, also includes union dues. We will pay for your union dues or your initiation fees. And we make sure that you have work clothes and boots. So next slide. Once we complete all this training, it's not about training just for the sake of training. This is about career placement and advancement. One note that I forgot to mention in our last slide was mentoring. Mentoring was one of the parts of our training. So I'll go to the next slide so that you can see this placement chart a little bit better. Career placement and advancement is about creating pathways. Not everyone that complete the 10 weeks are ready to go to work. So I'm going to go to the very left, the very bottom of our recent results. It says pathways. And I'm showing you from 2010 to 2020 so that you can see how the numbers fluctuate in the number of people that we have going to union and non-union. We don't choose, we let them choose for themselves. So in this 10 weeks, not only are they going to class, we have site visits with all of the trades that you see listed here. Those site visits are set up by student interest. So we have some that are we always go to the carpenters, we always go to the laborers. When we look at the mechanical trades, it depends on the interests of the students, but I'm gonna say the laborers, carpenters, sheet metal, electricians, steam fitters and plumbers, and sheet metal are trades that we always go to. The others are usually by appointment. So if someone wants to be a painter, and I can say this last class, we had 4 guys that went to the painters. Well, with those 4 people, we set up a special visit for them, because why take 25 people to go tour a facility when they know that there are other trades that they're interested in? And this way, it's a more intimate conversation for the folks that are interested to get the information that they need. Now, I mentioned too that we track our guys for 3 years. The numbers that you see here are just first-time placements. So the only thing that we're tracking here is the first time that you're entering an apprenticeship. We're tracking them until they get to journey level. And we're going beyond journey level so that we can make sure that our folks are also going to move into management and leadership positions. So the person that you're going to talk to a little bit later, Raleigh Morrison, is a foreman. And so we, again, are growing our FBIs for the trades. And the other thing is we're tracking them through the leadership all the way to contractors. The one thing that I can tell you that I am really, really proud of is in the 15 years that I've been doing this, I have 8 young men of color who have become contractors, not a handyman. They have their contractor's license. And we're currently doing some expanding our facilities, and 2 of our contractors actually are working on our remodel. So I'm really happy to see that this work has truly gone full circle. Next slide. Mentoring. So mentoring is the one piece that is probably a cornerstone for this work. Right now we have quarterly mentoring events, but we're trying to move those mentoring events to monthly. And the reason for that, and this is where we need your help. I mentioned the whole FBI, and like I said, we make jokes about that. But when someone has not had the opportunity to learn the culture and truly know the extent of what this can offer them, having a mentor is somebody that can help you navigate the culture of bullying, hazing, and harassment, which we know still happens today. It can help you navigate, maybe this is not the trade for me. A lot of times when people don't know where they'd like to start, we have them start with the laborers so that they get a feel for the whole. Laborers are the first ones off, the first ones in, last ones out. They do a little bit of everything. So it's a great way to find out, where do I want to make my specialty trade if I haven't figured that out? Or maybe I love being a laborer, and we have some people that have done a great job with that. So we would invite you to come and help us with mentoring our students, whether you come into the class as a speaker, whether you come and help us with the hands-on training. Our hands-on training is every Thursday. We're doing training all day. And on those Thursdays, we're looking for projects that we do with other organizations. This picture here is a great one. This is Dave Dahl has been coming out and partnering with us and actually going out to work with our guys. This is one of our board members, former Senator Robert Boyer, who was he was working at the shipyard but understand apprenticeship. In this particular picture, it was a great time that we had building sheds, building tiny homes for the homeless at Agape Village. So hands-on training is a place that we're looking for help. Classroom guest speakers. There's a whole lot in mentoring to just come and tell your story. How did you get into the trades? How did you maneuver to get to where you are? And the last thing is, if you have a construction site, a site visit, it is great. We try to get at least 2 to 3 opportunities to get our guys out on a site visit. So when they go to work for the first time, they're not overwhelmed with just coming onto a job site. Next slide. So on this note, I think I've shared with you a lot about Constructing Hope, the 4 classes that we provide a year, 25 people per class. I'd like to stop and just answer any questions that you might have. But one quick thing, in our class, we talked a lot about what is in those classes. I want to tell you, they have math every day, and our math classes are in partnership with PCC. And again, it's so that we can be sure that the guys that are going to the mechanical trades have the level of math that they need. There is hands-on training. There's life skills training, as well as in our life skills, we're doing finance, budgeting. We're teaching the apprenticeship survival guide. And that's talking about nutrition, health, how to work. And at the end of the day, before you leave this program, I need a portfolio, which has all of your certifications, your resume, and a trades paper, because that's telling me that you truly have researched the trade that you want to go in. And I need to see that resume and portfolio that's going to say that you're going to be successful in that trade. So now I'll take any questions that anyone might have. I'll see if there's questions in the chat.
Hi, Pat. I'm just on the phone with Raleigh to try and get him tuned in. So far, there aren't any questions in, but maybe folks who've been listening, if you could type your questions in the chat or Q&A. And then Drew, if they come in, would you be able to ask those on my behalf? And we'll give it just a minute or two.
And I think the other thing that we can do while we wait for Raleigh, we can go to the next slide and just, if there's no question, we'll answer the questions. And there is a small video that we'd like to share. And we can come back to Raleigh.
Okay, are you there?
When I decided that I was going to start
sorry,
this program, it
things right now.
was a struggle, but it's still here today.
While the rest of society says they can't do anything for us, they don't want anything to do with us, Constructing Hope says, get in here. We're going to build them up.
Right. We are very excited. Tonight we're celebrating the graduation of our spring 2018 class. We're graduating 20 people.
This is a good job for people coming out of incarceration, because when they are put into institutions, they're spending a long time there, and nobody thinks about the amount of time that it takes to re-enter.
Once you get a felony on your record, it's really hard to get a job. I mean, even to get a place to live, they checking for backgrounds and felonies and stuff like that. So if you coming out of high school and college is not your thing, or you can't afford it, which a lot of people really can't, people go in debt trying to go to college, I would go through the program, because 10 weeks, I was making 17 bucks an hour. And a week after that, I say 2 weeks after that, I was making 28 bucks an hour.
Anyone that I've ever talked to, they've spent 10 weeks of their life and they've wasted it. They've wasted 10 weeks of their life, whether it was trying to figure out what they wanted to do, if they went to school and ended up changing their mind, like they didn't want to continue with it. Why not take the chance and do something that's actually going to better yourself, even if it's a sacrifice, because you've done it before and it didn't kill you.
We send you through a number of things to get prepared to come in, but when we interview you, we're looking to see, is this a really strong desire? Do you know what construction is? And if you have the desire, then we're going to help you build the confidence and the basic skills to walk through that door. And we're assuring you that we're going to hold your hand.
I was really laser focused on nailing my re-interview with IBEW, because originally I had ranked 300.
Came into the information session, I really wanted him to see what an opportunity this was to change his life.
He was very focused, always wanted to be an electrician, but I remember him coming into the class not knowing a lot about construction.
It wasn't a great rank, so there wasn't a good chance that I was going to get in. But thanks to Constructing Hope and the mentorship that they provided me, I go into the interview, I'm prepared, and lo and behold, I rank #1 in the re-interview. And I credit that all to Constructing Hope.
I came out being homeless, living underneath the bridge in a tent. And it wasn't a challenge to come to class because I wanted to better myself. I didn't care about the pay. All my payment was for certifications and all the time they spent on training us and helping us get where we are now. They even helped me finding me a place for housing. They got me housing, so now me and my wife have our own place. And they've done a lot. I didn't need to get paid money. I was getting paid every day, despite being in class.
But when you have a specialized skill in the construction trades, something that's specifically yours, you can take that anywhere. It's like breaking the bars on your life. Like, you have so much freedom now. Once you get your journeyman license, you can take that anywhere in the world.
Our whole job is to remove any barriers that's going to stop you from being successful. While you're here, you're getting to talk one-on-one, not to me, but to that electrician, to that heavy equipment operator, to that laborer. I'm not gonna be the one to tell you how to get in the trades. The people in the trades.
All I can
All
say
right. That was great. I remember I watched that video before you and I spoke, and I was all inspired by it. Let me see if I can get back to, oh, sorry. Let me restart this. Let me try this one more time. So we're still working on getting Raleigh in the mix. So hopefully we'll get that soon. We had one person not so much ask a question, but more make a comment that they, Christine said, I just want to say it was an incredibly impressive level of preparation for real life. Mentoring truly is the key.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I can talk a little bit about some of the things that I didn't share. Thanks to a lot to COVID. I mean, well, COVID was a tragedy, and we're all still suffering from that. But what it did for us is that it showed us really how the digital divide was right there. Moving our class to online, because we were dealing with 100% low income people, we've changed our support services to include laptops. When our guys were saying that they wanted to come into class, this is not a program that you can do on your phone. And so it just showed us exactly how many low income people really did not have anything other than their phone. Most people did not have a laptop, had not used a laptop. So for us, this has like really had us step back. Right now we have smaller classes. We've just gotten to a class of 17 all last year. We had our winter class that came in January, and I'm really happy to say that I think we graduated 13 people, and they all went to work. So we didn't have a spring class. We didn't have a class again until fall. And luckily we also ended up having a small fall class, just down to 13 because of getting the word out and getting the computers and getting everything set up so that they could actually do an online class, because we also had to have a prep before the class started. So we had to do like a 3-day prep to introduce you to your computer, show you how to use the computer. Let's get everybody just some basic knowledge. And then we're ready to start class, because, you know, doing math online and having speakers come in and talk to you about subjects that you don't know about, but especially, like I said, the very first week of class is pretty heavy with all of those certifications. So I always tell them that if you get through the first week, the rest is going to be a picnic, because it's amazing to see the guys and ladies come into the classroom not knowing each other. And then by the time they leave, you got best buds, and they're talking about how they're going to start their construction companies together in 5-6 years from now. So that's really the most rewarding part. But I would say, no, the most rewarding part is when they come in and tell us that, you know, we already know that I'm starting to work tomorrow at whatever company, and we've gotten everything all taken care of for you. Here's your gas card to get you out to those first couple of days of work. And even not just the first couple of days, we're going to give you gas cards for like the first month, because that first paycheck is already owed to somebody. You're going to need a couple of paychecks before you're ready to do this on your own.
That's really incredible. And it must feel so good to see folks come through every time you run this and to see what they do after. That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share that slideshow again. I think we have Raleigh on the line. We had some issues, so there's no video, unfortunately, but we have him on the phone. So Drew, if you wouldn't mind unmuting, and we'll hopefully hear from Raleigh.
It's Raleigh, I'm here.
Wonderful. So good to hear you. I'm sorry we can't see you.
That's fine. You guys seen enough of me already.
On it. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
That's awesome.
Great. So yeah, take it away. Tell us about your experience.
Well, I came into Home Depot. I came into Constructing Hope. I was working at Home Depot for 12 years, and me and my wife we have 5 children. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of scattered. I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, but we have 8 children. My wife giving me the signal we have 8 children.
I was going to say,
6 girls and 2 boys. Yeah, 6 girls and 2 boys, and we own our home, and so we were just making by. My wife was working really hard, and I was working really hard, and we're just trying to make ends meet. And I was afforded the opportunity to go through Constructing Hope through Percy Hampton. He used to work there. His wife was friends with my wife, and she just happened to come over and tell me about the program. And she says, "Well, if you want to try it, you need to get down there right now." It was like 11 o'clock, and there's a 12 o'clock opening, so I rushed down there, and I was able to get in the program, and it truly saved my life and changed my life. I went through the program, and I struggled just trying to stay focused on it, because I didn't honestly know what I wanted to do with my life. All I knew was, just work hard as I can. And I do have a record, so that just, to me, in my mind, limited the possibility of me ever having a high paying job or any kind of job that would help me support our family, So I did go make it through the program, and I graduated and was given direct entry into the carpenters. Now, I went through the whole program of Constructing Hope without knowing what I wanted to be at all. I had no idea if I wanted to be a plumber, electrician, a laborer, a heavy machine operator. I had no idea, but God came to me and said, "Jesus was a carpenter. Is that not good enough for you?" And that was good enough for me. So I asked to be a carpenter, and I was given direct entry into the Carpenters Union. And on my first job, I ended my career at Home Depot making $15 an hour. My first job as a first-term apprentice carpenter, I was making $23.35 on my first job. And it was really hard. It was really, stressful, and I didn't know a lot of what I was doing, but I knew all I needed was a chance to get my foot in the door, and I will pretty much do what I can to outwork anybody on site, is what I did. And fortunately, every job I went to, people saw the potential in me. They saw that I wanted, to better my life, and they didn't care about any kind of my past or anything. All they cared about was, I going to show up to work? Was I going to work as hard as I can? And am I honest? And do I get along with people? And, the answer to all those things were yes for them, because I showed up every day with a smile on my face. And so today I'm a journeyman carpenter, and I'm a foreman with Turner Construction, and it's the same thing. My work ethic is the exact same. I do my best to outwork everybody, and I get along with everybody. And my sons, Robert Spector and Scott Spector, they both, were in a point in their lives where they were young, 21 and 28, and they were trying to find their way around the world. And Scott was working at a gas station, and Robert was working at a tire factory. And so they saw me, starting to make money and get a good work ethic going. So Scott followed in my footsteps first, and he joined the Carpenters Union. He went through Constructing Hope, you know, and he graduated Constructing Hope. And then Robert is the older one. He didn't want his little brother outdoing him, so he joined Constructing Hope. And so now both of my sons are journeyman carpenters, and they're doing good. And I just appreciate Constructing Hope's opportunity, you know, to get me in the door, you know, because I am a African-American male and I'm 55 years old, been married for over 20 years. And right now, all the kids are out the house, and me and my wife, we're able to, you know, at least try to have a livable wage. You guys there?
Yeah, we are. That's
Okay.
that's awesome. I love that your two of your sons are trying to outcompete each other while they follow in your footsteps. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. If anybody has any questions for Raleigh and want to enter them in the chat, I would love to hear them. Yeah. So you said it was 2013 that you graduated?
This is 2000. I graduated in 2013, the winter.
That's awesome. You're coming close to 10 years since Constructing Hope. That must feel kind of exciting.
It really does. It was, you know, something I couldn't even imagine growing up. I mean, I was never guided towards construction. I was never afforded the opportunity, and I thought that, you know, construction workers needed to go to college for 4 years and learn all this high technical stuff, and you know, those things help as far as, you know, becoming superintendents and general foremen. But right now, they're grooming me to be a superintendent because I've been a foreman for 3 years now.
Awesome.
You know, and then my team appreciates my input. They listen to me, and, you know, the company I'm working for is the second largest construction company in the world. So this is not a mom and pop. This is big time. And, you know, we just finished a $180 million Adidas project over on Greeley and Killingsworth, and that was a challenge. It was 4 stories below ground for parking and 5 stories high, complete with a soccer field, a $500,000 screen. The wall, just one wall, was $500,000 worth of monitors.
Wow, that's incredible. We had a question come in from Christine asking, what did you find was your greatest challenge when you started learning the trades?
The greatest challenge that I found going into the construction field was racism. I mean, racism played a big part in my growth as a carpenter, because a lot of times I was almost ran off sites because of racism. I mean, they wrote whites only on the water cooler. There were swastikas and thunderbolts on T-squares, and, you know, and just recently when George Floyd passed away, one of my coworkers flat out told me, he says, well, if George Floyd could scream for his mom, he says, I can't breathe, he was breathing. You know, those kind of things. I had to not lash out and you know, get violent or do anything. I just had to just know I had a bigger picture. I had a bigger goal ahead of me, and I couldn't let people in you know, their prejudice dictate what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't want to go back to my old ways where the first thing I want to do is put hands on them. But, you know, I you know, let him know my view on the situation, and I reported the incidents to my supervisors, and I did everything I could to keep myself safe. You know, and those problems were addressed, and, you know, my supervisors did side with me. My company does support Black Lives Matter, and they will tell you that, you know, today, that, you know, they're not going to put up with any kind of intimidation. So that was one of my biggest obstacles. you know. And I mean, the heat, the cold, and all that, that is what it is. To me, it's just work. I love to work. So funny story, one time, my wife went on vacation. She flew to El Salvador, and I was talking to her on the phone, and I was telling her my feet were cold. They just wouldn't get warm. And so she comes back from El Salvador, and she looks at my boots, and my boots are blown out on the side. I had been working so hard, I never even stopped to pay attention to my boots. They were all tore out to the side, and we hurry up, went to the store and got me 2 pair of brand new boots so I can continue on. But yeah, that's probably one of my biggest obstacles getting into this field, was not feeling included. But now, today, as a foreman, I do feel included.
That's incredible. I echo what Christine has said in response, which is that she's glad you persisted. It's a really powerful lesson for everyone. And I think it's so wonderful too that now in the foreman position, you also get to play a bigger role in shaping the culture of your workspace. And I think that's just really exciting. We need more of that. And I'm really glad to know you're in that role and helping to lead that in the company you work with.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of perseverance, and I had the opportunity to work on a couple of sites with my son Robert, and we were actually interviewed by KGW News, you know, and I did give Constructing Hope a shout out and let them know that, you know, this industry is nothing but growth right now. So there's a mass opportunity for not only minorities, just anybody that really wants to work, because we are so short on labor right now that, you know, it's hard to keep up, you know, for a job that we're going to really need 20 or 30 guys. We're, you know, dealing with 10 or 15 that are going to show up every day and are going to, you know, put in the work to be successful and get this project done.
Yeah. We have another question from Britton that may be more directed towards Pat. Britton was wondering how most students find their way to Constructing Hope, and also how you connect with those coming out of incarceration.
Okay, we have a direct pipeline. We have an outreach person that actually goes into the prisons, and we go to the jails. So we actually go into those areas, but not only those areas, we work with a lot of other community organizations. So we get referrals from Apano, from the Urban League, from NEA. We have an orientation every Monday at 1 o'clock. People can just walk into our office when we're open. Right now with COVID, our office is technically closed, but if you go to our website, you can get an application online. But the first thing is to come to an orientation so that we can tell you about it. And then after the orientation, we actually give you the application because we feel like you have a better sense of what you're coming into. You know, 6:30 in the morning is not something that everybody can do, and we're serious about attendance. But we're working, and same thing with our youth program. So we'll advertise our youth program, and remember the youth also get direct entry into the adult program. So right now we're doing classes of 25. We're hoping that by 22, we're a little behind. Our goal was to move to classes of 40 by 2021, but we're in a little setback situation. But this is going to turn out to be a great situation because now we learn to do some online things. And I think we're going to keep a small portion of our training online, but the majority of it will be in person.
That's awesome. Yeah. We've had a similar experience in this past year at Yes Tomorrow of changing some things to online and realizing that that does create some more opportunity for people to participate if, you know, they don't have the full time for the all in person. So it's cool to know that you're also making that pivot.
Yes.
Yeah. Was there another slide after the video you wanted me to share?
I think that was it. I think the last one was the just the video for everybody to see.
Here's an important slide. How to get involved.
Yes, okay, I am so sorry. Yes, so how do you get involved with Constructing Hope? Follow us on social media. Our social media has gotten so much better in the last 2 years. Check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have volunteer opportunities, and you can become a social media ambassador. We talked about mentoring. You know, we are always looking for people to come and help us with mentoring. I'm even going to say math tutors, because we have a math class, but when our guys are kind of all over the place, we can do tutoring with small groups, depending on what they're working on, so that we can move them to a certain point by the end of the class. Financials, we have corporate sponsorships. Right now, we're just getting ready to kick off our Level the Playing Field fundraiser. So you'll see more information about that. Be a Hope Society member. With our Hope Society member, we just received our first grant from Nike, and Nike created a fellowship program. The one thing that we've been struggling with is, as we are running adult programs, we always find stipends and support to pay people to go through youth programs, but we don't tend to have that for adults. And I say that these adults are the parents of the low-income kids. And so we want to pay the kids, but we don't want to help the parents. So we're trying to create a fellowship program for all of the folks in our program to receive some kind of stipend while they're going through. You can always donate. There's personal fundraising, and we are on Amazon Smile.
Awesome. Yeah, we shared a lot of your Instagram and Facebook things on our social media too. So people are already following us. It'll be easy to find them. And yeah, we're getting close to our hour. So if there's any final questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A box. I personally really loved getting to hear more about your programs, and to hear from Raleigh too, to really hear, the impact that it has on not just him, but now his whole family and his sons. And I think that's really, it's beautiful. It's so cool.
Like, yay, we have FBIs.
Yay.
And this is the last thing I have to share, only because I am so proud of her. Just recently, one of our graduates from 2015, we did a photo shoot getting ready for our Leveling the Playing Field fundraiser. And Janny Turner got to come in, and she's a laborer. And I am so proud of Janny. She is the very first person from our program to actually become a training coordinator for a local JATC laborers, Local 37. And so I just had to say that, because when Janny came into the program, her situation was almost similar to Raleigh's. She had lost her children. I didn't know that she was homeless when she came through it. But see, when you go back that far, this is why we built all of these services in. And so when she shared her story about her homeless situation and having her kids in the system, and for her to come back and say how she's got her kids, her husband is now a laborer, she's a training agent for the local, and just think this happened in 6 years. She's a homeowner. Raleigh's boys are also homeowners. And so this is the impact that we're talking about on I Love Constructing Hope and the mission of this program and what we do.
That's awesome. It's like, I'm a big fan of puns, but I'm like, you're laying a really good foundation for a lot of people's futures.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really, I remember when we talked a couple months ago, and when we first started getting you involved in this, you mentioned that you had traveled to other parts of the country, and everybody was like, why don't we have one of these? And I wonder if you're working on any sort of here's kind of what we did, here's some suggestions for how to get a program like this started. Do you have any ideas, or working on anything to help other people follow in your footsteps in their communities?
We are, I'm going to say, honestly, this is kind of like the downside of being a very small program. We've had staff turnover because of funding, and we're just taking off right now. So it is something that the board has been talking about that we can look at. So we are looking at that. But I can say right now, it's still pretty much making sure that we get all of our current standards and policies and procedures in place, because my current staff has not had their 1-year anniversary yet. It's going to be coming up in June.
Yeah, definitely. Got to make sure you have all of your things set before you start sharing. But I know, I imagine that you're already an inspiration for a lot of folks to start even just figuring out how to maybe do it themselves. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for taking this time to share your work with us. And thank you, Raleigh, if you're still here, for sharing your story as well. It was really nice to hear the impact that it's had and to get to know you a little bit. And yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch, they've got their website here. You can also let me know if you are having trouble, and I can help to connect you. Next week, same time, same place, we have Mel Baser from from Helm, Helm Construction Solutions down in Brattleboro, Vermont. And I'm really excited to hear their talk as well. So until next time, and thank you again, Pat and Raleigh.
Yes, and you can still contact us. We'll still be happy to share any information.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. I'll be in touch with you soon.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.